Rich Rising Beautiful Souls, this is Empress B, aka Rooted with Naira, and as I promised, I am going to do a spiritual synopsis on the Michael movie. But hear me, no spoilers. We can talk about the spirituality of the movie without going into the details of the movie for those that have not seen it yet. So many of you know the background or the history of the Jacksons or the Jackson Five. Like we have heard stories even from the siblings about Joe and Catherine Jackson. We are aware of their personality. We are aware of the time that they lived in. We understand all of that. And I'm going to get to that later on in this video, okay? But first, we're going to talk about who the movie was about, Michael. And so many people I have heard personally say they left so much stuff out of the movie. Yeah, that is correct. Due to the simple fact of some legalities of stuff, granted. But I do like the way they took the movie because this focused on Michael's genius. It focused on the way he created. It focused on how he talked to himself or manifested these albums and how they became to be a musical staple in today's time in society, from his childhood to generations after him that are learning who he is and what he represented. But the one thing that I gathered, and we can say it's spiritual, but Michael dealt with a lot of trauma. A lot of them have. They dealt with a lot of trauma pertaining to their father, but also dealing with a lot of trauma, I have to say, with their mother, because their mother, even though it was a different type of time of era, she stayed quiet in the midst of a lot of stuff. And granted, we've seen two sides of Catherine from different type of movies. This particular movie, where it starred Nia Long, and then the Jacksons, The American Dream, which starred Angela Bassett. Even though she did have a little bit more of a voice, she was still quiet in the midst of some things that may have happened between the brothers or her sons. So in the midst of his trauma, he tried to channel it, alchemize it, if you will. And we can look into what the definition of alchemy is. And alchemy is just basically transforming energy. Now, in a scientific sense, it's like metals, but spiritually, you can transform energy into anything that you want it to be. Alchemize it so you can manifest something into your life or gain something, access of something, whether it be part of your emotions or manifesting an idea or manifesting something to make your life a little bit better. That's what you do with alchemy. So throughout his life, and of course, I can't really go over the whole movie, but in the midst of the movie, the main things that I noticed, that I observed about the character that Jafar Jackson was playing, of course, was his uncle, was Michael affirmed himself. He spoke affirmations over himself before he did a session. Now, that's the way it was portrayed in the movie, but I do believe that Michael may have done this for real, in real time, in real life. In one scene, and it's not telling what's going on, but he said, I am beautiful, I am the greatest of all time. Basically, he was speaking over himself before he did his music. And also, I noticed that he wrote a lot of stuff down. He journaled, he wrote things, he looked at it at the mirror, he began to meditate on it, he began to put it in his mind so he can manifest it, so he can figure it out, so he can work on it. But he also had a strong faith. As you know, the Jacksons were Jehovah's Witnesses. And so even in this movie, you could see where he depended on his faith for Source, the creator, the Most High, to give him ideas about his music. He also was inspired by movies. So I will say, with the help of his father and his mother, because his father did have a dream, he did have a vision, and he also manifested. It just was a little warped. Okay. But Michael ultimately, for him to get to where he was, he continued to speak affirmations. He continued to speak into himself. He continued to manifest. He continued to journal. He continued to write. That is one of the keys of manifestation. He believed in himself. He believed in his purpose and what he was called to do. One thing that he did say is that music is a universal language. And I've been saying that for a while, that music is frequency. Music is a universal language. Music helps to bring people together. It also, the frequencies in the music also changes your mood, also inspires you, also help you. You may not think it, but it can also motivate or help you to change your mind in certain situations or things that you're thinking about doing. Yeah. Also, one of the key things that I noticed about him, Michael was a humble and meek person. So he didn't like confrontation. I don't, even when I seen interviews of him, he didn't like confrontation. So the dynamics that the Jacksons and even the daughters had with their father, they had to grow up, stand up, and stand for what they believed in. So it came a time where even in Michael's life that he had to do that with his father. And he wasn't the only one that did that. All the Jacksons did it. The Jackson 5, even Janet. How you think she came with control? She had to fire her father, and that was her independence album of coming to be Janet Jackson, right? He was an empathetic soul, so he was an empath. So if you notice, anytime, and we're not even talking about the movie, even though it was in the movie, but we can talk about, like, if you've seen him in the 80s and 90s. I'm an 80s baby, and you could see sometimes where he toured some of the hospitals and where he went to go visit people. He could probably feel their pain or feel their spirit. So he was a very spiritually gifted person that was able to see, to feel, and he emulated all of that through his music. And so even today, even though Michael has been an ancestor for 17 years, it will be this year. He is still the greatest of all time. His music has surpassed generations for people that do not even know him, was not even born during his era. They were born after he transitioned, and now they know who Michael Jackson is. My daughter is 12 years old, wasn't even thought about. And that girl sat in that movie theater and cried tears and really felt, I believe, the presence of Michael Jackson. Now, with the movie and also spiritually, Jafar Jackson, I think this was the highest level, in my opinion, of ancestral veneration. So, B, what is ancestral veneration? Ancestral veneration is honoring your ancestors. People get it so wrong in the church as well as Christianity, thinks that that we worship our ancestors. No, that's not the case. We honor them. And there's many ways that you honor your ancestors and don't even know it. When you go to their grave site and change their flowers, that's ancestral veneration. When you go and talk to them, that's ancestral veneration. If you have a picture of your grandmother, big mama, auntie, uncle, anyone on the wall, ancestral veneration. When some of the guys pour out alcohol for their dead homies, that's ancestral veneration. So there's many ways you can honor your ancestors, right? That does not mean that you're worshiping them. We are aware of where they are and what they are, but you can always honor them because, again, scientifically, energy is not created nor destroyed. So you have not destroyed their spirit, their energy, or their soul. So Jafar Jackson being a nephew and that has lived at Havenworth, that is the family compound, and that have been with Michael Jackson as his uncle, have spent time with him. This was the highest level of ancestral veneration by honoring him, by taking on the role of his presence in a movie. And in the movie, I got goosebumps because there were times where I didn't know if I was looking at Jafar Jackson or Michael Jackson. He emulated him so strong. Michael's energy it came on so strong in that movie that you could not even tell which was which. Now, some people will argue and say, he looked nothing like him. But if you look past your physical lens and look spiritually, you could not tell them apart. I truly believe that his ancestor, Michael Jackson, tapped down. He touched down. And basically I believe Jafar used his spirit and energy to make the fullness of this movie. And even now, beyond the grave, Michael is still the greatest of all time. I just looked at a video on yesterday where they're saying that Michael's music has come back on the charts, that this is the most they have seen streaming of Michael Jackson's music. Well, of course, this is a whole new generation that is now looking and listening and understanding his story. Again, the highest level of ancestral veneration. It is a beautiful thing. And even in the midst of this, he still lives. And I'm not talking about physically here in this plane, but his spirit still lives. His energy still lives throughout each and every one of us. If you listen to his music, if you understand the frequency of the things that he sung about, if you understand the lyrics of the things that he sung about, the man in the mirror. What did I talk about the other day? Can you feel it? Do you remember the time? Like different things. Go listen to his catalog and you'll understand what I'm talking about. That's just a short version of my 2 cents on the movie as well as spirituality. I can go a little bit deeper and I might come back for a part 2. We'll see. But that's just a little bit for you to ponder on, because we can go deeper. We can talk about the trauma and how he alchemized that. We can talk about the different things that he had to endure physically. And if you know, and this is one thing I will tell you for my gifted people, whether if you are an empath, starseed, earth angel, if you understand any of those things that I just said, if you know what they are, if you are a seer, a prophetic person, if you are a medium, any of these things, then you know that when you're spiritually gifted, you're going to have some type of ailment, some type of crutch, or what they say in the Bible. Paul said, there's a thorn in my side, right? So it's always something that keeps you humble. And if you noticed about him, there's a lot of things that is coming up about Michael that we're looking into. Could he been neurodivergent? Could he been autistic? We know he had vitiligo. We know that he had 2nd and 3rd degree burns on his scalp when he did the Pepsi commercial. There's a lot of things that we can look at for him to be such a conflicted soul, but so gifted at the same time, right? But again, that might be for part 2. Talk to you soon. Peace, peace.